Welcome to another edition of Bryan Montross Talks Real Estate. Are you caught in the ultimate housing dilemma, wondering whether to rent or buy? Well, you're in luck, because today I'm diving into the benefits of each to discover which option holds the key to your future. Renting versus buying. It's the eternal struggle. Some say renting gives you flexibility, while others swear by the long-term perks of homeownership. So what's the scoop? Renting is like dipping your toes into the housing pool without committing to a lifelong swim. Renting gives you the freedom to pack up and go without the hassle of selling a home. But wait. Don't sign the lease just yet. Owning a home is like planting roots in your favorite spot. It's not just a place to crash. It's an investment in your future. Plus, you can customize to your heart's content. Goodbye landlord restrictions. Understanding the advantages of both renting and buying, as well as their differences, are fundamental in determining which is better for your situation. First, let's compare and contrast some of the financial aspects of buying versus renting. Owning a home means that a portion of your monthly payment goes towards building equity, which can be recovered upon selling. Some people say it's like a forced savings plan. However, renting entails all your payments going to the landlord, with none of it being returned upon moving out. Additionally, owning offers the stability of locking in your mortgage payment for up to 30 years, providing certainty, whereas renting leaves you subject to potential rent increases over time. As we look back over the last 60 years, the median rent price in the United States has consistently increased from under $100 per month 60 years ago to almost $1,200 per month now. That's about a 4% increase every year versus the fixed payment of a mortgage. Now, looking at home prices over the past 6 decades, home prices have consistently appreciated, contributing to the equity you can gain as a homeowner. The average home price went from about $25,000 to about $500,000 over those 60 years. That's about a 5% increase every year. So while the homeowner is gaining equity, while their payments remain relatively constant, the renter gains zero equity and their payment goes up every year. Renters are missing out on this wealth building opportunity. However, owning does have some downfalls. It comes with additional financial responsibilities, such as property taxes, insurance, and maintenance costs, whereas renting typically includes these expenses covered by the landlord. But one of the biggest hurdles a homeowner has to overcome is the higher upfront cost of buying a home. There's a down payment, closing costs, and other fees associated with buying a home, whereas a renter typically just has to come up with a security deposit and probably their first month's rent. Quick note, talk to your real estate advisor if the down payment is keeping you from home ownership, because there may be some programs out there that are able to assist you. So let's look at an example of renting versus buying an equivalent house from the year 2000 to 2020. The median home price back in 2000 was just over $200,000. In order to find the rent for an equivalent house, I looked up the average price to rent ratio. This ratio basically allows you to calculate the rent for a property based on its value. I can't just use the median rent price because rentals tend to be smaller homes or even apartments that are not equivalent to what a homeowner would purchase. This is why renting can sometimes look better because you can get smaller payments, but you're probably sacrificing size or location to get that lower payment. Anyways, continuing with our example, in 2000, the price to rent ratio was about 96. So if you take the median home price of $200,000 and you divide it by rent, that would equal 96. That then means that the rent would be just over $2,000 per month. We know rent prices go up every year, and during the time between the year 2000 and 2020, it went up on average a little under 3% each year. When you add that all up, the renter would have paid about $650,000 to rent a house for 20 years. The upfront cost would have most likely been $4,000. That's 1 month's rent for security deposit and the first month's rent. In the end, They might get their $2,000 security deposit back, but with all my rounding errors, they're still all in for about $650,000. So let's look at the purchase side. Let's say you were able to put down 5%. When you add on closing costs, you're probably needing about $15,000 back then just to get into the property. Notice that's about 4 times the amount needed for renting. The loan payment would be around $1,500 per month for the 20 years. Again, notice this is less than the monthly rent, but if you think about it, a landlord does need to cover expenses and make some money. So $1,500 per month for 20 years, never changes, means you pay $360,000 plus that initial $15,000 up front for a total of about $375,000. Note, this does not have property taxes and other expenses included, but I'll talk about that in just a minute. So after 20 years, you sell the property at the median home price, which is now about $370,000. The loan balance would be about $120,000, and closing fees I would estimate around maybe $35,000. So you take the home price, $370,000, you subtract out $120,000 for the loan and the $35,000 for your closing costs, and that gives you a check of $215,000 that goes right into your pocket. That means your total investment is about $160,000 for owning the home versus the $650,000 for renting over 20 years. So what about those other expenses that I talked about, right? Taxes, insurance, maintenance, etc., right? As a renter, you still have some expenses, some insurance, things like that. Let's say that's about $50 a month. Even if owning the home costs you 10 times, let's say even 20 times that amount monthly, it doesn't make up for the $490,000 difference in total investment. I made this example over a 20-year period, but if it was just over 2 years, the numbers would start to favor renting. That's why I believe that, owning real estate is kind of a long-term play. But in the short term, it's very dependent on your personal situation. Dr. Jessica Lautz, Deputy Chief Economist and Vice President of Research at the National Association of Realtors, says that buying a home makes sense if you're financially stable, capable of managing mortgage payments, and able to handle household repairs and maintenance. It's an investment in your long-term financial security and prosperity. However, finances are not the only consideration. When it comes to ease of use, the distinction between owning and renting becomes evident. In terms of accountability for maintenance issues, renting shifts the burden to the landlord, while owning a property implies you are in charge of repairs. Another consideration is relocation flexibility. While renting allows a simple non-renewal of the lease, owning means potentially fixing up the property, make it look nice, find a buyer, then sell the property in order for you to be able to move. On the other hand, renters may have restrictions on their ability to make changes and must obtain permission from their landlord before making any upgrades. Whereas owners have the freedom to make whatever changes they want, whenever they want. In short, the decision to rent or buy is determined by your own personal circumstances. However, if you're ready and capable, harnessing the power of equity could be the final piece that solidifies home ownership as the best long-term choice. Thank you for watching, and once again, I'll leave you with this verse. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. This is Bryan Montross, your real estate advisor.